We've seen how cyber threats, including ransomware attacks, increasingly are able to cause damage and disruption in the real world. I can't guarantee this, and you're as informed as I am, but I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power, it's going to be as a consequence of a cyber breach of great consequence.
With cyber attacks ramping up in the U.S., Americans are wondering how this impacts their lives. What the president said was sobering. A shooting war is possible over cyber attacks. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and Iowa Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks knows a thing or two about shooting wars, and she joins us now. Welcome to you, Congresswoman.
It's wonderful to be with you, Trey. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you make of the president's remarks on cyber attacks and the possibility of a shooting war?
Well, I think that there are other people that have also, come to that conclusion that it could lead to that. But that also means that it's this much more important that we take our cybersecurity very seriously and that we enact penalties and sanctions upon those that hack, those that request ransomware and gain money. So it is a very serious issue. We deal with that on the Homeland Security Committee, of which I'm a member. But it's more than that. It's how we respond to that. I think giving a list to Vladimir Putin saying these are the companies in the U.S. you don't attack is not the way to ensure our cybersecurity and that hacking attacks such as that decrease. We need to have a very bold, very strong approach so that we can avoid any shooting war.
I think you put your finger on it. I mean, if memory serves, Russia is alleged to have attacked or interfered with our elections, our food supply, and our energy supply. So if that's not enough to trigger a shooting war or really even much of a response, what would it take?
Precisely. So if the president believes that, a major cyber attack could lead to a shooting war, then by all means, that means you need to institute policies now. You need to have a strong stance towards China and towards Russia. Although Vladimir Putin said that the Russian government was not behind the cyber attacks, we know or we have intelligence information that indicates there certainly is not much of an endeavor on the Russian government part to prevent those type of cyber attacks. And as you mentioned, the Colonial Pipeline, JBS, and the food supply, these were tremendously serious issues, but they also affect local and state governments as well as the federal government. So we need to have a stronger position. The president needs to be stronger on that, whether there's sanctions, whether there's trade status for preferred nations. I mean, allowing Russia to go forward with Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, in the face of having cyber attacks. Maybe a pause on that would have been the preferable action to send a message to Russia that we are not going to tolerate this and that we are concerned that these types of actions in the information technology sphere and affecting companies or governments within the United States could lead to more serious ramifications. So the best way, offense is a good defense, and right now we're not in a posture where we're really putting forward the best interests of the United States.
Congresswoman, let me switch to a topic that you are also familiar with. If we did, in fact, go to war, should women be drafted into the armed services? And to me, it's not a question of whether women can serve. That was answered a long time ago. The question is whether women should be legally required to register for the draft. Senate Democrats think so, and they proposed legislation requiring women to register. My wife has not told me what my opinion on this issue is, but you're an expert. You served in uniform. You serve in Congress. What is the right response here?
Well, first, let me say that, women are tremendously capable of serving in the military. I've served with phenomenal women, primarily in the medical field. So when I enlisted in the Army and then when I was promoted to officer ranks when I became a nurse, it was at the tail end of the Vietnam War. So I did not serve in Vietnam, but I certainly worked with numerous nurses and, as a matter of fact, helicopter pilots who became nurses who had served in Vietnam. So we know that they're capable of doing it. The question is, if you're going to draft individuals, then in order to do that, you have to have a selective service registration. So should women then be required to register for selective service and then be drafted? So I think the first question we have to answer is what's the purpose of a draft? And the purpose of a draft is to send people into war, into combat immediately. So I think that to appropriately answer the question, you need to get mid-level commanders, not our heads at the Pentagon and our heads in the Joint Chief of Staff, but mid-level officers who command units, so captains and majors and lieutenant colonels, and ask them, would they have enough time in an immediate situation where we deploy immediately to war? Do they have enough time to train individuals? And if they have enough time to train individuals, or they have the capacity to put individuals where their skill set will allow them to be deployed, which doesn't affect the team or the mission, then I would say I would take the information that I would get from those individuals to put that into determining whether women should register for the draft. Without that information, I don't think we can make an accurate determination whether or not it would be appropriate for women. But certainly serving in the military, I have the utmost regard for our women who have served in the military and continue to serve.
Well, we are grateful for your service, and just as you were talking, what went through my mind, Tulsi Gabbard served, Tammy Duckworth served, Martha McSally.
Exactly.
Women have been defending this country for as long as I can remember, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone when we say we're grateful for your service as well.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I think we, women have tremendous, attributes to offer in the military service, as they do in all walks of life. But we need to make the appropriate decisions and information because, again, we have to remember what's the goal of our military. The goal of our military is not wokeness. The goal of our military is to protect the homeland. It's to go to war and go into battle. So I think without all the information on whether or not the military, and as I said, mid-level commanders are going to be the ones that can give you better information. Your command sergeant majors, so your higher ranking enlisted and your mid-level officers are the ones that can give you the information if they think they would have the appropriate time to train and to deploy troops into places where they can most effectively perform their mission.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You are so welcome.